Imagine this. You're cruising down the busy streets of New York City on a motorcycle, but there's something missing. No helmet. The wind hits your face, the city lights reflect on your visor-less eyes, and yet you feel completely safe. Sounds crazy, right? It almost feels like a scene from a sci-fi movie, but it's not fiction. It's real, and it's called the BMW Vision CE. BMW claims this futuristic electric bike could be so safe, so advanced, that the helmet might become optional. And that single idea is shaking up not just the motorcycle industry, but also the way we think about freedom, technology, and safety on the road. Now, here's the real question. Will Americans ever accept a motorcycle that challenges decades of tradition, state laws, and even personal freedom? That's what we're about to explore, and trust me, the answer may surprise you. But before we go any further, if you love the future of mobility, if you're passionate about tech that changes the way we live, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Because here, we don't just talk about vehicles. We talk about the machines that could redefine our entire way of moving through the world. Think about it. In a country where Harley-Davidson has been the symbol of raw freedom for over a century, BMW is stepping in with a machine that promises not just speed, not just design, but a completely new philosophy of riding. One that says, maybe you don't even need a helmet. And that raises the big question. Is this the next giant leap forward in American mobility? Or is it just another European dream that won't survive the highways of the United States? Asterisk, the BMW Vision CE was unveiled at the IAA Mobility Show in Munich, and it immediately caught the world's attention. At first glance, it doesn't even look like a motorcycle in the traditional sense. Its design is sleek, futuristic, almost minimalist, more like something you'd expect to see in a sci-fi blockbuster than parked outside your favorite coffee shop. This isn't just about style, though. Underneath that futuristic body is a fully electric heart. The Vision CE is designed for city life. Compact, quiet, zero emissions, and fully integrated with digital systems that monitor every movement of the bike. It's not just a machine you ride. It's a machine that's constantly riding with you, predicting, stabilizing, and protecting. BMW calls it a step toward urban premium mobility. And that phrase is important. See, in Europe and Asia, motorcycles and scooters are already an everyday tool for getting around cities. In the US, motorcycles have always been more about freedom, lifestyle, and open highways. That's why this bike is different. It's not built for cross-country road trips on Route 66. It's built for weaving through downtown traffic in places like Manhattan, Los Angeles, or San Francisco. And here's the fascinating part. It's entering the market at the exact moment America is going through its own electric revolution. Electric cars like Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid are no longer experiments, they're mainstream. The government is pouring billions into charging infrastructure, with more than 170,000 public charging stations already across the country. The future is electric, and BMW wants motorcycles to be part of that story. But this isn't the first electric motorcycle Americans have seen. Harley-Davidson tried it with the Livewire, and startups like Zero Motorcycles are already carving out space. The difference is that BMW isn't just talking about another electric bike, it's proposing an entirely new philosophy. A bike that promises so much safety, so much built-in intelligence, that it could rewrite the rules of the road. And that brings us back to the big controversy. In a country where motorcycle deaths remain tragically high, can a machine like this really convince riders and lawmakers that it's safe enough to ditch the helmet? Asterisk. Here's where the story gets complicated. The boldest promise of the BMW Vision CE isn't just its electric motor or its futuristic design, it's the claim that the bike could be so safe, so stable, that you might not need a helmet. Now, in the United States, that's a bombshell. Because helmets aren't just about safety here. They're about politics, culture, and identity. Let's break it down. In America, helmet laws are set by the states, not by the federal government. That means the rules vary widely in states. Like California and New York, helmets are mandatory for everyone. But ride through Iowa, Illinois, or New Hampshire, and you'll see riders cruising freely, hair in the wind, because helmets are optional. This is where the conversation gets heated. For decades, American riders have argued about helmets. On one side, safety advocates and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration point to the numbers. In 2023 alone, more than 5,900 motorcyclists were killed on U.S. roads. According to federal data, wearing a helmet reduces the risk of death by about 37%. To them, it's simple. Helmets save lives. But on the other side, many riders, especially in the Harley-Davidson community, see helmets as a question of personal freedom. It should be my choice, not the government's. For them, the motorcycle is more than a vehicle. It's a symbol of independence, and that's what makes BMW's Vision CE so controversial. It's essentially saying, what if technology could make you safe enough to ride without one? Think about that. It challenges both sides of the debate. Safety advocates would ask, can we really trust machines that much? Riders who fight for freedom might say, if the bike is truly that safe, then maybe I finally get both freedom and protection. But here's the twist. Convincing riders is one thing. Convincing lawmakers is another. Agencies like the DOT and NHTSA would have to approve a bike that, in theory, removes the need for helmets. And changing laws is never easy in America, especially when it comes to something as emotional and symbolic as motorcycles. So the question becomes, will Americans embrace this as the next evolution of freedom, or reject it as a European fantasy that doesn't fit the American road? Asterisk, if BMW really wants to bring the Vision CE to the United States, the road ahead won't be smooth. On one hand, the opportunities are huge. On the other, the obstacles are just as big. Let's start with the bright side. The U.S. market for electric motorcycles is growing faster than ever. In 2024 alone, sales jumped by more than 30%, and every indicator shows that number will keep rising. Younger riders, especially in cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York, are open to new ideas. For them, motorcycles aren't about the open highway or the roar of an engine. They're about convenience, sustainability, and tech. In other words, the exact world BMW is trying to build with the Vision CE, and the timing couldn't be better. Thanks to federal incentives, there are now over 170,000 public charging stations across the country, and more are being added every month. America is finally catching up to Europe in terms of infrastructure. That means owning an electric motorcycle in the U.S. is more practical today than it has ever been. But here come the challenges. First, the price. BMW is a premium brand, and the Vision CE won't be cheap. Analysts estimate it could cost well over $20,000, a figure that instantly puts it out of reach for most casual riders. For comparison, you can buy a Harley-Davidson Sportster for much less. And while Tesla managed to sell expensive cars by turning them into status symbols, BMW will have to prove that an electric motorcycle can carry that same cultural weight. Second, the laws. Even if BMW delivers on its promise of safety, American regulators like the DOT and NHTSA will have the final word. And convincing them to allow a bike that suggests riding without a helmet? That's going to be a long battle. And finally, the culture. Remember, in the use, motorcycles are more than just machines. They're part of an identity. Harley-Davidson didn't build its empire on specs, it built it on lifestyle. If BMW wants to succeed, it has to create not just a bike, but a new kind of movement. A vision that feels as American as it does futuristic. Still, history shows us it's possible. Think about Tesla. A decade ago, nobody believed Americans would embrace expensive, fully electric cars. Today, Tesla isn't just a car brand, it's a cultural phenomenon. If BMW plays its cards right, the Vision CE could follow a similar path. And that leads us to the big question. Is this really the future of American mobility or just a bold experiment? To answer that, we need to look at what this bike really represents for the years ahead. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So, let's go back to the big question we started with. Will Americans ever accept a motorcycle that challenges decades of tradition and maybe even makes the helmet optional? The honest answer is probably not right away. Legally, it's going to be nearly impossible in the short term. State laws won't just change overnight, and regulators like the DOT and NHTSA will demand years of testing before they even consider approving something this radical. But culturally, that's where things get interesting. America has always had a complicated relationship with motorcycles. On one side, they're symbols of rebellion and freedom. On the other, they're constant reminders of danger. If BMW truly delivers a bike that feels futuristic, luxurious, and most importantly safe, it could begin to shift the conversation. And maybe that's the real point. The Vision CE isn't just a prototype about today. It's about where we're headed. A future where motorcycles aren't just about speed or power, but about intelligence, connectivity, and protecting the rider before an accident even happens. Imagine a world where your bike knows more about traffic than you do, where it balances itself in emergencies, and where technology erases the need for some of the dangers we've always accepted as part of the ride. That's not science fiction anymore. It's the direction companies like BMW are pushing us toward. Now, whether America accepts it or not, that's up to riders like you. Would you trust a bike that promises enough safety to ride without a helmet? Would you trade the roar of a gas engine for the quiet hum of electricity if it meant redefining freedom for a new generation? I want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the future of motorcycles, don't forget to hit subscribe. Because this is just the beginning. The machines of tomorrow are coming faster than we think.